So, without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Billy Polson. He was named America's Best 100 Trainers by Men's Journal magazine. He's a three-time fitness entrepreneur, an international presenter, and a business consultant for pioneering trainers and studio owners worldwide. In 2004, looking to build an unparalleled training facility with San Francisco's leading fitness specialists, he founded Diacati Fitness. He's going to tell
Excellent.
us later what that stands for. I had to practice that. He was awarded the Bay Area's top trainers and gyms for 18 years. Pretty impressive. His consulting company, The Business Movement, has assisted thousands of fitness business owners worldwide with boosting brand visibility, improving productivity, and increasing profitability, what we're all looking to do. So thank you so much, Billy, for being here. We would love to hear from you. He's going to give us a presentation. I'm going to give a super quick demo on how the software can help you do some of the things he speaks to. And then at the end, he's going to answer all your questions live. So Billy, take it away.
Definitely. Good morning, everybody. Let me turn these guys on behind us really quick. Excellent. So, Angela, thank you so much. I'm psyched and honored to be here with you all this morning. We're going to talk about what I call a new Client Concierge Program. And this is a program that we've developed inside Diacati in San Francisco over the last 20 years. And it's also something that we've taught all of our in-house trainers, as well as all of our business movement studio owners and independent personal trainers. It's something that I hold very dear to my heart because I honestly feel like one of my life goals is to do anything I can to keep you all from being this type of salesperson. I feel like we get plenty of these in our industry, and I want to offer you a new perspective. I want to give you a new way of thinking about making initial customer relationships genuine and really connecting to those individuals. And in the end of the day, truly helping them find the products and services that are ideal for them. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to do anything I can do to help you not be that greasy sales guy. Now, we're going to talk about it in four main areas. We're going to actually start in your brand and your marketing and talk about how you can be a concierge in those elements, especially on your digital footprint. Next, we're going to talk about your new client intake and those first contacts, those first impressions, and how important they are. Third, we're going to talk about once you actually have made the contact, the client comes in for a consultation or an interview, how you can really be unexpected in the product and customer service that you're providing to them. And lastly, about welcoming, onboarding, and even a little bit into retention. Once clients are in your space and they've decided to hire you, your concierge service is not in there, and how to really move on with that for months and years with those same clients. Let me tell you a little bit about Diacati. So first of all, as Angela introduced us, Diacati is actually an acronym. Way back 21 years ago, we wanted to come up with an original name. So it's an acronym that stands for Do It All, Kick Ass Doing It. And what it's done, our facility, 20 years old, we've combined two different business models: the independent trainer model, where we have 50 independent trainers that are running their practice out of our facility, as well as combining that with the five-star customer experience model. And so the reason that I want to really show that to y'all today is, and I'm going to brag a little bit, as Angela said, 18 of our 20 years, we've been named either the best gym and or best trainers. And I really believe that a big part of that has been how we approach our customer experience, how we are truly a concierge to them instead of them feeling like they're being sold to. So 17 years ago, or sorry, back in 2017, 7 years ago, we actually decided to take all of our education that we've given in-house to our trainers on the road. And that's what the business movement is. And that's really what brought me to you all here today. So I work with independent personal trainers and studio owners around the world now on their concierge program, but also on their branding, on their sales, retention, customer experience, and especially on automating their systems. So a lot of those things we're going to talk about today. All right, y'all, let's start off with a poll. I want to get an idea of exactly who is in the room in terms of the types of business owners you are. So if you're a boutique trainer studio, or maybe a group exercise studio, if you're a big box gym, if you're an independent, or maybe even a staff personal trainer, let's see what else we got in here. And do me a favor, those of you all that are other, because we have a pretty good chunk of others, do me a favor in the chat. Can you guys tell me a little bit about what you're doing outside of these main categories? Is that possible? Excellent. Now, as I'm looking at these, I want to let you know I come from a very personal trainer, individualized fitness perspective. One of the reasons I think that's important for us to keep in mind today is being it or individualizing your products and services for your specific individual clients. I think it's a big part of that concierge program. So even if you're a group exercise studio, I want to plant some seeds in your brain today about how you can still individualize what you're doing and allow that to really better connect with each of those people in your group classes as well. All right. Okay, y'all, let's head forward. Let's talk about our very first, or actually, first of all, let's do a little defining. I want to talk about what is truly salesy and how does that feel. In all honesty, 2 days ago, I had to go and buy a car because one of our cars died. And we were headed in like teeth bared. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to deal with the worst salesperson ever because that's what that car purchasing is known for. So let's talk about how it felt or what we were actually bearing our teeth for. So, first, it always feels like this tense environment because you have your guard up as a customer and there's something that feels like it's a little forced from their side. That's the salesy kind of vibe. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of times it's not individualized. So they're giving you generic options as opposed to trying to really hear what you need and customize their products and services for what you actually could get the most results from. And lastly, their why and their purpose a lot of times has absolutely nothing to do with your needs. It's about them making their quotas and pushing their cars out or whatever they're doing. So, sales vibe, I want you to pay attention to that today. And anything that I happen to present that feels a little slimy or salesy, I want you to call me on the table for it. Okay. Now, next thing, let's actually talk about what feels like a VIP concierge experience. First thing, the first word in this, a calming vibe and nature. There is just a soothing kind of connected experience that happens when someone is truly there to help you. And you can feel it. There's a genuine nature to what they're doing. And I want to try and give you all some ideas on how to provide that to your customers, especially when they walk in on day one. The next thing, low ego. I want all of you to be confident in your products and services, but the ego level has to be on the floor. You cannot come in with a high ego. It has to, again, feel like this connected way of helping folks as opposed to trying to prove yourself to them. All right. Next thing, resourceful for sure. You have lots of options to try and help them out with whatever their need and whatever goal they're trying to reach. But you want to be generous with your information and generous in trying to help them. And we're going to talk a lot about ways to do that. Last thing, pampered and attentive. I always compare a lot of first client experiences to being the guest star on the Oprah show. I want you to feel like you are in the most comfortable, or your customers just feel like they're in the most comfortable chair with this warm spotlight on them. It is all about them, and you're so attentive to their needs. So we're going to talk about that through all the four areas as well. Okay, y'all, let's talk about branding and marketing. Everything starts here. That first landing on your web page, the interaction that you have with them at that point is really crucial in your first impressions. I'm going to ask you a question. On your website right now, you don't have to put this in chat. I just want to have you think about it. On your website right now, if someone lands on your website, is the only option that you're offering to them the idea of either buy something from me now or leave and come back when you're ready to buy from me? Because a lot of fitness business websites, that is the only option. There's no middle ground. And the middle ground I'm talking about is sharing some knowledge with them to help, one, to help upgrade their life, but two, to help them learn to trust you and to learn more about you. It's that idea of the first date. Don't want to go a home run on the first date. You want to actually slowly warm up and get to know people. And your website and your digital marketing presence is an excellent way of doing that and being very generous in how you share that information with folks. So let's talk about how you can do that, just really briefly. First of all, you have to be very aware of who your target client is and what are their exact goals and challenges. If you don't know those two things, that's going to be your first piece of homework because you have to know that in order to know what information will be the most valuable piece of information that you can start sharing with them. Does that make sense? I have a lot of clients who come to me who are not very clear and exact on who is their target client and who are they trying to serve. They want to serve everyone because they feel like their numbers would be better. But the more you can specify the type of client, then you can know their needs and their goals and their challenges, and then you can really be generous in sharing information with them. Now, on the website, I want to talk about the ideal ways I recommend being generous with this knowledge. Now, this single slide we could talk for an hour about, so I'm just going to give you a very brief overview of it. If there's any question that you have or any details that I can help you with building any of these ideas, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll give you my contact later. But I recommend having at least an opt-in, blogs, videos, workbooks that folks can download and learn more about your philosophy, learn more about the information that you can share with them to help improve their lives. This is the Diacati opt-in. We actually have, there's an opt-in on our Diacati website. It's diacati.life is the name of our website. Feel free to go on there and go through that opt-in. There's also one on the business movement. There are two very different styles of those with different types of information, but I recommend taking a look at those and then looking back at your own website and thinking, how can I give my potential customers some information to help them learn to trust me and to want to take those next steps? As I said, this first impression is so crucial in making sure that you're gaining their trust and proving that you have something that's really valuable to share with them. So again, if you have any questions on how to add opt-ins or build those on your site, don't hesitate to reach out. Now, second thing I want to talk about on your website, it is so important that your website has a very personal, service-focused vibe. And when I say that, the first thing I'm saying is absolutely no stock photos. It's 2024, people. We all have a phone that can take incredibly good photographs. Stock photos cannot happen anymore. And even more, I recommend it not being just photos of your facility. Show people in the facility that represent your customers. Show those customers so they see themselves there. And then show what their interactions would be like. Ours, again, is very personal trainer centered. But show a day in the life of what it would be like for your customer. And that needs to be on every single page of your website. So important. I'll give you an example. This is one of my clients, Jesse, with the business movement. So when Jesse came to me, his homepage is a picture of him surfing. And then all of his follow-up pages were stock photos of folks working out in their homes because he does a home personal training service. So we did a photo shoot, got some new photos of him, put those on his site, and I'm not exaggerating. Literally within the first 10 months, less than a year, he had tripled his income because folks were already finding the site, but he didn't seem like an ideal fit. They couldn't picture themselves doing what he was offering. So look at your site. Are folks able to see what a day in the life would be like working with you? And if not, that's a big homework item for you as well. Now, for those of you who have trainers or coaches, even the group exercise folks that were on our list today, I want you to think about this. And this is something I have yet to really find a facility who has gone to this level in terms of introducing their coaches. That personal connection that you're trying to make with, especially if it's a personal trainer and you're getting someone to try and pay top dollar for that service, you have to really go above and beyond with introducing your trainers and coaches. Very often you just see a headshot, maybe a 4-sentence bio, and then maybe a list of specialties, but that's really it. So this is our Diacati trainer page, and all 50 of our trainers, we have 52 independent trainers right now. All of them have a page that looks just like this on our website. Let me show you. This is Anthony. So there's a great header photo, him working with a client. There's a list of their specialties and specifically showing what a high level of their specialties are and then specifically how they do it. Buttons on how to hire Anthony. A nice bio where Anthony is able to talk to folks, talk to about his previous experience in education, a full gallery of photos of Anthony working with all types of clients and working out himself, a list of all of the education with logos for every piece of education, and then this at the bottom. Every trainer page has a series of testimonials specifically for that trainer, talking about what clients' experiences have been like with that trainer. And then at the bottom, Anthony has some press. So he has a link to his press, and then again, a button of how do I get started working with Anthony. Every single one of you, no matter again, group or private personal training, think about how you were introducing your coaches on your website and how you could do that in a more personal, connected way so folks really want to meet them and want to learn more about them. All right. If I can answer questions on how to do that better, you let me know. Another way of connecting with folks on your website is to share their feedback kind of back to them. So all of your clients' experiences and testimonials and their results quotes that you have, that needs to be a huge part of your website. This is literally the second screen you scroll to on our homepage that leads you to 3 of our big quotes from testimonials from our clients. And then it has a button to take you to our client results page. These 2 elements of having small bits of quotes and testimonials on every page of your site leading to a full client results page, really, really important. Again, in offering a perspective to clients that they're looking for. 97% of customers are reading online reviews before they shop. There's another number, 86% of folks trust reviews more than they trust what you say about yourself. So this is very important for that initial concierge customer vibe. All right, y'all, I'm going to step into a giant hole on this one because there are a lot of coaches who do not agree with what I'm about to tell you. But I'm going to go from the perspective of I'm going to try and put you into your customer's shoes. When you're shopping for something, don't you want to know how much it is? Don't you want to know upfront? Like, just tell me the price. Like, I had a new client who came to me who was having trouble with his sales pitches. Which I hate that word, but he was. And one of his new customers came in and he was talking to him. And the customer asked, well, how much is it? And he said, well, let me tell you all about it and we'll talk about pricing at the end. And the customer literally said to him, I've heard that sales process. I've seen that sales pitch. I just want to know how much it is. And I honestly think that's how most of our customers are. Be upfront with your pricing. Let them know the Diacati website. All of our trainers have their own prices because they're independent. So we have to have a range, but we list the range of what those prices are so folks know what they're stepping into. The business movement, all of my prices are on that website live, the exact price of it. Anything you can do, again, to let clients know that information and be generous with sharing exactly how much it costs. You would never go up to a concierge desk at the Ritz-Carlton and say, hey, I want to book a restaurant tonight. And say, well, how much is the steak dinner at the restaurant? And they say, you know what? Try the steak dinner first, and then we can talk about pricing. That would never happen. So be upfront with your pricing. And the last thing I'll talk about in your marketing, we mentioned it earlier, but make sure every single client that would come and use your facility or come and use your services if you're a trainer, make sure they see themselves on your website. Every single age, every sex, every race, every body type, they all need to be on your site so they see themselves there. One of the most important points I'll leave to you in marketing. Scan through your site and make sure that all of your clients are seeing themselves on your website and in all your social media. Okay, that's the marketing. That's that first impression of how to be a concierge before you even meet the person. Next, let's talk about the intake and the consultation. Now, I'll introduce you. This is Jenny. And Jenny is truly the Diacati concierge. Her full-time job is to take new client applications, work with that client, learn as much as she can about them, and then match them with their ideal match for personal trainer. So she is truly a matchmaker. And our job at the end of the day is to try and help her with making matches that will last for the lifetime, that will have huge return for the client and they'll feel so comfortable with. So part of her job as a matchmaker. The other thing is that she's consistently making sure the client has everything they need throughout that onboarding process. So her follow-ups are very prompt. We'll talk more about that. And she's constantly checking in and make sure everyone's getting what they need. Now, let me just walk through our sample intake process where all of our Diacati, kind of the order of operations that they go through as they're coming into our facility. And I'm hoping it'll inspire you with some ideas of how you could maybe make tweaks to yours to be a little more of a concierge level. So, first thing, the very first thing that our folks do, every single client fills out a short intake form on our website where they tell us a lot about their help history, their goals, the personality of trainer they want to work with, their schedule needs, maybe even some of their life goals. But we get some great information with them before we even speak to them. That's the first thing they do. They fill out that form. That form then comes into Jenny. Jenny looks through the form. She connects with them. And at that point, ideally, if she has any follow up questions, she'll ask them. But ideally, Jenny will offer everywhere from 2 to 4 trainer recommendations of who she feels like would be an ideal match for their goals, specialty, schedule needs, and health history. So she matches those trainers. At that point, we recommend that that client interview all of those trainers if they can, or they choose the ones that they feel like they'd like to interview. But we really try and recommend they interview all of them to find the best fit. At the end of the day, the client always makes the final choice of who they're working with. And that is a huge concierge upgrade. We're not just assigning them a trainer who is next up on the list or who we feel like needs to fill their schedule at that time. It is a matchmaking process. So think about the same on your side. How can you be doing that? Again, trainer and group fitness, same type of idea, recommending specific classes, specific instructors based on their personalities. Next thing, once we match them and they choose a trainer, the trainer then gets up and running with them, does all their onboarding, and basically takes off with them, heads into their programming and assessments. All right. Now, throughout that process, we literally have what we call the new client toolkit. And it is basically every form, every email, every single contract or waiver or program storage, assessment tracker, even welcome emails and recovery emails after day one. All of those are part of our concierge client toolkit. And actually, a lot of this, Angela, I think, is going to be able to talk to you about how wellness living can help you automate all of these as well. But this is a huge part of what we're doing. Let me show you some of these. First of all, that initial intake form. Again, feel free to go to the Diacati website, diacati.life. Feel free to fill out our intake form. And literally at the very bottom of it, it's like, any additional questions? And just put, this is fake because Billy told me to fill it out. But feel free to fill that form out and learn a little bit more about how we collect that data. Your forms definitely need to be concise. They need to be electronic, that someone could literally have their phone at lunch and fill it out, make it very easy for them. They also need to be branded with your personality. So it doesn't feel like a doctor's help form from Kaiser. It truly feels like this personal connection. Have some like interesting language in there that makes it more playful. You want it to sound as personalized as possible. And then last thing is that response time. As I mentioned, Jenny on the concierge side, 24 hours max. Ideally, we're trying to respond within 12 hours to every single email, every single request. So keep that in mind. That is the expectation that I'm challenging each of you all to live up to on all interactions you have with your clients. Okay. Now, as we start sending them emails, all of our emails are built into templates. Again, a great thing that Wellness Living can help you with developing. The one thing I'll say, every single email template, and this is, we have 50 trainers, we have over 500 clients. I think we're 580 clients wise now. Every single email we send out to them, even if it's a template, has some level of personalization in it. I call it the 90-10 rule. 90% of it's a template, 10% of it says something about their form or their, even if it's just their name, but ideally it says something like, hey, Jane, we're excited to pair you with your trainer to help you reach your goals around recovering from your knee replacement surgery. Something as small as that, so they know this is not some template that goes out to everyone, that we've heard them, we know who they are, and we're truly trying to match them individually. Okay, 90-10 rule for every email you send out. Challenge you on that. Next thing, making it very easy for folks to either schedule their consult or their tour or their first session. Automated scheduling. And this is definitely something that you want to have to make that first impression a single click for them to grab exactly what they need. And again, Angela can help you out with this a little bit. Last thing I want to talk about is how to be unexpected during these initial first impressions with folks. This is a software that I've used. There are lots of different versions of it. This one's called Vidyard, but this is something that I've used. You see me in the bottom left-hand corner to introduce new clients to my trainer recommendation. So I'll walk them through and say, hey, I recommend considering Tommy because he's done this specific work that matches your needs. And I walk him through his page a little bit. And then I'll say, you know what, but I'm also going to recommend Aurora. And here's why I recommend Aurora. And I kind of explain a bit more about Aurora, but I'm speaking personally to them. I'm like, hey, Angela, thanks for your intake form. Here are my recommendations and why. And she sees my face and hears my voice. That unexpected level of matching service, I have yet to see anyone do that for sure. But anything you can do to be unexpected, for you not to feel like every other trainer, every other studio on the block, that is your job, to rattle the cage and be unique in some way. And this is an excellent example of how to do that. There are lots of other ways that you can do that as well. Okay, y'all. You've done the intake and first contact. You've reached out to them. This new client has now agreed to come in-house and to meet with you and to learn more about either you as a trainer, your business, your group classes, whatever. They're coming in. Now, let's talk about some details on this. Just like I mentioned, these are the clients. They are the guest stars on Oprah. They are the only guests for the whole hour. They get the prime seat, they get the prime lighting. It's all about them. So coming in, ideally use that intake form, the form I mentioned to you all earlier. Use that intake form to learn some about them. So as they come in for this meeting, you actually know a lot about them already, but you have some great follow-up questions. So they know you've read that form and you ask them a little bit of a deeper dive. And again, Angela, tell me about your knee replacement surgery. How's your PT going? Where are you in the process? Be ready with follow-up questions to talk to them about. You want to have a chance to sit down and ask those to them, but also during your tour is a great time to ask some of those follow-up questions where you're just learning more about them. The other thing I'll say about your tour, if you're showing them a facility, customize and individualize your tour based on that exact person. For Angela, who just had knee replacement surgery, show her the pieces, maybe the Pilates reformer to get her back into her squat positioning. Maybe you're actually going to do some of the leg, like an incline leg press, as opposed to the Olympic lifting platform. So show her the parts of the facility and tie it into the equipment that she would actually be using while you're asking her if she's done that stuff before. It's all based on what she would want to know during the tour. And you're not ever giving a generic tour where you show everyone every single thing in the facility. Those days are done. Optimally focus on what they would use the facility and how they would use it. Okay. See, optimal scheduling. I just talked about the idea. Your tours and these first impressions, they cannot be squeezed between like two client sessions and you're like sprinting through it. You want to truly connect with folks and have a nice calm vibe and energy with them. And ideally, if you can set it up that you have some time in a quiet space or a private office to truly like listen to their deeper goals or health history, like that's an ideal place to do that. Okay, try not to do that right in the middle of the floor. Now, next thing, once you've kind of done your follow-up and learned about them, there does come a time that you have to talk about yourself a little bit. But my point on this is that the client is still the star, even during this portion of your consultation. What I mean by that is that every bit of education or experience that you present to them, you want to be explaining why that education or experience relates to them and their goals and their needs. So think about even during your elevator pitch and how you're describing yourself and your differentiators in your practice. Those need to be tying back to exactly why that's going to help Angela make her legs stronger and recover from her knee surgery. Okay. Angela, I hope you're not having knee surgery, by the way. All right. So last thing.
I'm getting nervous over here, Billy.
I am not a psychic. I'm only a business coach. Next thing I want you to talk about with them is I want you to introduce your services to them. And this is a very important factor. I'll give you a good example in this. We have two interns that just went through our program, and they finished their program and they were going through consultation with the same client. One of them chose to show samples of all their programs and their tracking data and how they use apps, and they literally showed them on a computer screen, this is how it's going to look. The other one just talked about it and just, again, explained it, but kind of briefly introduced it without showing it to them. The client chose to work with the person who showed it to them because they could visually see what a day in the life would be like. So as you're meeting with clients, no matter what type of client they're coming in for, show them how you would track their assessment data or store their programs, or even like if you're doing precision nutrition or tracking their nutrition on specific apps, show them how you would use those apps to help with any holistic lifestyle stuff. And then lastly, walk through a typical session with them. Explain what that would feel like. And even maybe that's a great part of your tour. Show them so they can truly visualize what it would be like to live a day in the life of being your client in whatever way that would mean. All right, now let's talk about the pricing. Again, this is a tough issue. This is something that is fear factor a lot of times from the business owner side because you just hate having this conversation. But at the same time, I feel like the more confident and comfortable that you can become with your pricing, offering it, walking through it with folks without feeling salesy, the more genuine and the more helpful you will be. They know it's going to cost something. So think about a couple of things when you're doing your pricing program. One, I recommend having a nice branded graphic that you can literally show them either on your tablet, on your laptop, maybe even a laminated piece of paper if you want to do that, but something they can literally see and compare what their options are. The most important concierge recommendation I'm going to give for this, though, is that you don't just show them your three options and you don't just recommend the middle option like you're supposed to on every piece of sales education that you'll receive. You truly recommend what you feel would match their needs the best. And you genuinely recommend that. You individualize what you're offering. And I call it the idea of truly like a solution based sales approach, that you're offering them a solution that matches their needs. And it's not the same thing for everyone. Like a lot of times people will have on their graphics, it'll say best offer or most popular offer. Don't do that. Like, let it be a decision based on each individual. That's just again, I'm bucking the idea of a lot of business coaches by saying that out there, but I truly promise this has paid off for us in the long run because people trust what we're telling them more. All right. Next thing, follow-up email. You have the consultation. Let's say they don't necessarily hire you, or they do. You'll still have a follow-up email with them. And in that email, I want to point out a couple of very unique things that have paid off for our clients and our trainers. First of all, think about one, it's a thank you. Definitely it starts with it being a thank you. Two, think about all of the goals or challenges or topics that you discuss with them during that consultation meeting. If you have some really valuable piece of information that you can share with them that relates to that, it's a perfect place to share that because it's helping them gain trust in your knowledge, letting them know you have something additional to share with them, and it's unexpected. That's not what they're typically going to receive in a follow-up email after a consultation. So we'll give Angela's knees as an example again. Like if you have some blog on squat position or recovery after knee surgery, include that and share that generous knowledge with them. And again, that connection will grow and build in a much more speedy fashion because they're learning more about you. All right. Then next thing in this email to follow up, reiterate all the details you shared with them on pricing and then make it a one-click offer that they can easily click and get started with you, schedule their first appointment when they're ready. Last thing I'll say, at this point, let's say Angela decides not to work with you. I definitely recommend add Angela to your mailing list. If you have a monthly or a quarterly, some type of newsletter, add her and let her continue to receive information with you. As long as she has an ability to opt out of that newsletter, this is a great way of staying in contact with them, continue to gain their trust, and it's very likely that they'll come back around when they do actually need you. Okay, last section now. Let's talk about a little bit of welcome onboarding. This is the idea of, all right, they hire you. And then what do you do? Now, this is a welcome email template that I share with all of our trainers and all of our folks in the business movement. It's this really beautifully designed welcome email that has all the links for them to get started in signing their contracts and paying their invoice. It tells them what to expect on day one with a link to the map, what to wear on day one, explains how your pricing is going to work, and then has a full list of details on all of your contact info. So make sure that you're creating this beautifully designed welcome email that kickstarts their journey for you. One thing I'll say about this, these the attention to detail in elements like this, these are the little things that your clients are, it's going to rattle their cage and be an unexpected like upgrade in their minds. But these are the things that folks tend to write about in their reviews. These little things that you do that no one else does. This attention to detail, this little bit of a boost in the customer experience. And here's another example of that. And this is, again, one of the common things that folks write about, even for us at Diacati. Be unexpected. And on day one, what we do with our new clients, they come in, we know they're coming in, so we know their name. We're like, hey, Angela, it's day one. Welcome. And you can do this on the consult or on their first actual workout day, but you welcome them with their name. They're expected to walk in the door and you're ready for them. We have a spa water tank in our facility, which I'll say within itself, it costs us the tank you can get on Amazon super cheap. We cut one orange up and put some mint in it every day. That costs probably less than $2 a day, maybe. But that spa water tank, that is unexpected in a smaller studio or facility. And it's this wonderful thing. When someone walks in, you're like, hey, you want some spa water? That is a wonderful concierge upgrade. So something like that is a great way of having something to have every day in your facility. But on day one, we have a glass of that spa water in a real glass with a slice of orange up top, waiting for Angela when she walks in that door. Nice, chilled. It's just this unexpected. Who's going to say no to spa water? So think about your business. Think about your studio, your trainer. Even if you're a personal trainer and you're working with people in the park, when they come up on day one, have a thermos of coffee ready for them. Like we have a coffee and tea bar for folks as well. So it's a great way to unexpectedly give them a great day one experience. Same thing, after their first day, they get a wonderful email from us that's actually explaining, all right, you made it through day one, and explain some ideas on how to go through your recovery, like salt and Epsom baths, but it gives them a great, like, you did it. You did your first squats today. They were great. And then there's a nice graphic giving them some ideas on how to handle their recovery and muscle soreness after the first day. All right, the last thing I'm going to say, y'all, if there's any lesson I leave with you, it's this. Throughout every single process that you have or any interactions that you have with clients and customers, I want you to think about not meeting their expectations. I want you to think about blowing their minds. I want you to think about, how does the software you use, how does your website, how does your spa water and coffee bar, what are things that you can do that set the bar? You do it and no one else does it how you do it in your area. That is your job in being a concierge. You're trying to shock them into thinking like, wow, how can I not make a purchase with this place? This is what I've been looking for. This is my spot. So I want you to challenge y'all to think about your business in that way, doing anything you can to set the bar. All right, y'all, those are 4 areas. I'm going to kick it over to Angela to talk a little bit about how wellness living could help you all with building some of those systems.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to be on for a couple minutes, and then after, Billy's going to answer some of the questions that we've had coming in live. So make sure you stay on. I did want to say one thing. Like, first of all, I'm so giddy because this presentation just like spoke to my soul. But I have this really funny quick story. So we had a studio in Dallas. One of my students moved to Fort Worth, and she had a 30-day trial period with a new studio that had the same style of yoga. And when she went to go sign up as a member, she goes, "Look, I'm going to sign up as a member, but you need to learn my name." And she said she came back and she goes, "You guys totally spoiled me. I had no idea," because we were just that was our specialty, was just personalization. But it just shows you like how important it is to people. So I just wanted to share that.
It's worth every bit of effort. It takes some effort, right? But you can develop systems to make it far easier. And honestly, even like the software that you use can help with knowing folks' names as they walk in the door. Like that can be a huge help.
It's true. Yeah. Oh, we had every system under the sun for all of it, but it's worth it. And it just, it's the best. Okay. So I'm going to just speak to a few of the just practical things that Billy was speaking to that are like, sometimes can be like, oh, how do I set that up? And how do I actually do that in my business? And one is the lead capture. So just getting people's names, information. So you can customize this. I've got a PT one here for him. And you can just see that you can choose like what's required, what's not required. You can go through what is the type of information that I want to collect from people. You can see what it's going to look like. And you can also embed this on your website, which is obviously super helpful. So you can customize and personalize it. Then as you spoke to, you got to follow up, right? So we have all different types of automated campaigns that you can create that speak to just all the different things he mentioned, but going off that lead capture, here's a contact after filling out the lead capture, right? So this is just an example. You can have email, you can have a SMS. If you have a branded app, you can send a push notification, which is always great when people love those. But you can see when I click in here, you can customize this just to go to specific types of leads, like PT leads, get this one, this certain appointment type that they're interested in. So again, just completely customizable. You can make it an email, text, as I said. And then this is a huge feature that we've been building and building and building. Every release, it gets better, but our form builder, and this is where it can get really personalized because you can add images and just like, you can do a lot of things in a much easier way. So you'll see here, we created a client intake form and you can just drag and drop, which we all love. It's so easy. Say you wanted to find out more specific areas of personal training or that they're wanting to work on. We added, what are your current fitness goals? Again, the sky's the limit. And then over here in the top right, you can see that you can copy that direct link. So you can embed that into any of your emails to make sure they get it. And then I know he just briefly touched on this, but we all know we need social proof. And so the reviews, collecting reviews, putting them on your website for the social proof so people know that you have clients that are happy and some of the great things they say about you. So again, you can embed this code onto your website. And then my favorite is just, asking people for a review. So you can customize this. It doesn't have to be the day after. Sometimes that can be like a little, like you just went and then you're already being asked for review, but you can customize the review request, again, email, SMS, and you can ask like, hey, 3 days after or on your 5th class or whatever, can you, after your first visit, your 5th visit, ask for a review, maybe once they really love you. That's what we always like to do. We like to wait a few, but okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Graham is going to come on and he has some questions that have been coming in. Do you want to share a question or two that Billy can answer?
Sure, absolutely. So a couple ones that came in are both from Virtual Studio. So it says, my yoga studio has gone exclusively virtual after COVID. How would you recommend personalizing a virtual service?
Excellent. One of the best ways is an upfront assessment. So I think a lot of my folks who are in the group realm, whether it's virtual or in person, their first interaction with the client involves some level of assessing exactly what's going on with them in terms of goals and challenges and like an intake form, but also on maybe walking them through some of the movement screen in terms of squat, bend, lunge, push, pull, twist, gait, like looking at them. And you can do that virtually as well. All of us during the pandemic, all of us that were individual trainers that were moving our folks virtually, we all transferred our assessment to being a hands-off virtual assessment. And it's definitely something you can do by just having the client set up a camera and monitoring them in specific, just giving them exact parameters on how you want to watch them. But then mobility screens, even if there's something you can do if there's a cardio test or something that matches, again, the style of training you're doing, that type of assessment and then offering them specific advice is, again, that first impression, an excellent way to connect with them as an individual. Then you also have some great information to check back in with them on. Like, so as Angel was mentioning in terms of trying to help folks or knowing when to ask for testimonials, we use our results as the barometer of when to ask them for that. So we would check back in 4 weeks and be like, hey, Angela, I know on day 1, you said these were your goals. And when we walked through the virtual assessment, we had some trouble with your squat. How are those things doing? Let's watch it again. And when she successfully achieves those, then we can ask for a testimonial too. So it's the idea of trying to personalize that group experience in any way that you can that doesn't bury you. Like, you don't want to do it that you just don't have the time and the bandwidth to do it. But being creative and developing systems around it, my folks have found some incredibly great ways of doing that that pay off without exhausting them.
Excellent. All right. One other question, actually, I think we could probably answer twofold. One from your side and actually one from the Wellness Living side as well. It's, how do I start consistent customer communication? I'm a new business owner and I don't have the manpower to do this alone.
You're solo, I assume solo business owner. It is a juggle. It is 100% a juggle. My best first piece of advice is to create a checklist of the ideal kind of touch points that you would walk through with every single client, the ideal picture of that. And then once you have like kind of like the list I walked you all through in terms of Jenny and how she relates to our new clients. Once you have that list, then you want to brainstorm on each individual item. How can you automate it to as much as you can? How can you automate it as much as possible in order to create a system around it and not have it as something you're having to recreate every single time you do it? So it's a little bit, and again, I'll lean into you all to say how wellness living can help with those specific touch points. But you make the list, and then you have to try and figure out how to automate it as much as possible. And you're constantly recreating or reviewing that list to make sure it's doing what you need it to do and you're not drowning. And then you're adjusting it as you go. There's not a blanket answer on exactly how to do that because it's so dependent on your product and your studio. But I would start with the ideal, develop systems as much as possible, and then see if you can also get some help. One of my clients who is a small studio owner, solo entrepreneur, she has an admin who just has a couple hours every day, but she's responsible for all of the follow-ups. So she knows that at least once a day, the email box will get cleaned out. So as soon as you have any bandwidth to have someone, even if it's a virtual admin, to help you with that type of follow-up or outreach, that's where I would try and go as soon as possible.
Right. And from a wellness living standpoint too, is we have a lot of automated campaigns and things like that, notifications, visit campaigns, win back campaigns that can help you keep in touch with your customers as well. So that actually can relieve some of the pain points of if you don't have time to reach out for personal emails and things like that to every single client, and you're needing to reach out to what we have as our specific client groups that you can set up to reach bulk amounts of people that fall under categories that you're trying to communicate with as well.
And one other thing I'll say really quick on the same idea, keep in mind as you're going through that process with folks, keep in mind whatever you can do to, again, make it very simple for you, but also connect it. So if you take some of those touch points out of the way and you're still letting them know that you're there with them and kind of following up with them as much as possible, don't feel like you have to do the whole shebang. Like do everything you can do. And then slowly, as you have more bandwidth, you can add more into those.
Excellent. Okay. Well, it looks like here, let me check with this. We may have one. How do we take our photos and make them look good on our website?
So I'll tell you our story, what we did. So 20 years ago, I did not know how to take photos, and we had a photographer who we would lean on for that, and it was costing us a lot of money and taking a lot of time, and we were never really fully up to date on our site. So all I did was I went out, bought a low-level DSLR camera, and signed up for a 2-day live course where a photographer took us out into a park and gave us assignments and taught us how to use all the functionality of the camera. And then I signed up for an online course on how to use Lightroom, photo editing, and we brought it all in-house underneath our umbrella so we could stay up to date with it at all times. So I know that doesn't work for everyone. The one thing, as I mentioned, though, even if you have a really great current phone, the camera and the quality of that is pretty dang good that you could get it you could bring your website up to a level that would be great. Again, if you know how to do a little bit of post photo editing and how to like brighten things and even just making sure that you are putting it in the highest resolution possible, that'd be my recommendation. The other thing I would say would be as you're trying to build these out, even if you actually are using Canva or graphics to try and spruce up your site a little bit before you're able to get all the photos, I think that's another thing to think about, how to use some graphics to give it a nice professional and branded vibe, even if you don't have all the photographs there.
Excellent. Okay. I think that's perfect timing too, and wraps up most of the questions that we've got here. Looks like Jessica handled a few in the back there. If there are any other questions that you have, you can always reach out to us too on our community forum. and we're happy to answer questions there as well. Let's see here. Some of this is just very specifically wellness related. So I think we did a great job in getting everybody's questions answered.
Awesome. Billy, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. And I know he gave you guys so much good information. You will get a recording with the full recording within about, usually it's within 24 hours, sometimes 48. But anything else you wanted to add, Billy?
I'll give you a couple different links from me, just so you know how to reach out to me. Does that sound okay?
Absolutely.
So the first thing I'll show you this, we put out a quarterly newsletter to all of our business movement clients. If today was helpful and there was some information that seemed inspiring, definitely feel free to grab and opt into our newsletter. Again, it's just once every quarter, so it's not going to bombard your email inbox. I promise. You can always opt out. But our job in that newsletter is to give you all inspiring information like today. So feel free to grab that. And then I'll give you, this is all my information. As I mentioned, if you need help building your toolkit, or even if you want someone to take a look at your website and give you some feedback on it or talk about your systems, you all feel free to use this QR code. It'll link right to my scheduler. Feel free to grab one of my 30-minute intro sessions. I'm so happy to hop on a call. If there's ever anything you can do, feel free to reach out at any time. And especially for those of you that are solo fitness business or fitness studio owners, I know it's so tough and challenging. So if you ever need my help or you need to lean on me, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to assist.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Billy. I know you're going to get a lot of people contacting you. Such good information. So you guys, good luck with your businesses. We are here to support you. Billy's here to support you, and enjoy the rest of your summer. Stay cool.
Have a great day, y'all.
Bye.